Thank you, dear gentlemen, for turning up here for this occasion. And despite your hectic schedules, you have shown solidarity to the suffering people of Manipur. As we all know that since 3rd May 2023, for the over 2 years, this crisis in Manipur has been going on and is still continuing in different forms. And there is no way out right now. And one good development is that there has been a successful de-escalation in terms of the number of losses of properties or the casualties inflicted upon this other. So that is one good thing. And after the imposition of president rule in Manipur, some constructive concrete steps have been taken up. I would like to mention, the order given by the governor of Manipur, Sri Ajay Kumar Bala, asking, people to voluntarily submit the illegally possessed arms without any legal, action against them. So that was one concrete step, and that was followed by another, good initiative from the Ministry of Home Affairs in terms of, conducting inter-community dialogue that we had, on April 5 this year. So before coming to the major takeaways or the highlights of the talk that we had with the Minister of Home Affairs yesterday, I would like to briefly, highlight the 5 points, the 5 demands which was submitted to the concerned authorities on 12th of March this year when the officials from the MIC visited Imphal and had a fruitful discussions in presence of Federation of Civil Societies, folks, COCOMI, and AMUCO, three major civil society organizations in the valley areas of Manipur. So after that, an inter-community dialogue was initiated by the government of India, including the Kokizo civil society organizations on 5th May, and there was a very positive atmosphere in the wake of that inter-community dialogue, and people had this hope and expectation that normalcy and peace in Manipur will be gradually restored, and there will be opening of the highways for the free flow of people and goods, and also an understanding between the two warring communities. Despite all these positive vibes in the wake of that intercommunity dialogue, in the recent time we have seen that there were some unfortunate incidents, at Gualtabi. You must have heard about it. At Gualtabi, there was an incident of, stopping Manipur State Transport bus, which was carrying journalists and media personnel from Imphal to take part in the Shiri festival, which was held in the Ukhrul district of Manipur. So the question was about the Manipur State Transport, the banner or the prints on the bus. So the Mahar Regiment of the Indian Army, they managed to stop the flying of the bus on the ground that you cannot move forward without erasing or pasting a paper to blindfold the very word Manipur if you have to go forward. So that led to a very unexpected, very unfortunate incident which has hurt the sentiment of the people of Manipur, and the state is burning right now with women folk in large numbers, coming out to the streets to protest and demanding, actions to be taken against the persons behind that, very wrongful act of erasing Manipur within the territorial boundary of Manipur. And this has been interpreted, this has been perceived rightly or wrongly, as an attempt, as a provocation to dismember the very state of Manipur. And why I'm saying is because the question of the integrity of Manipur has been out there for quite some time, and people from Manipur, especially the Metis community, have been, raising their voice, saying that this centuries-old, state with a written history of more than 3,000 years cannot be dismembered, and we have a very unique history of, joining the Indian Union, basically the dominion of India in 1949, and the understanding given by the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, on the sanctity of the territorial integrity and unity of Manipur. I think the government of India should continue to, keep this in mind, that the question of integrity of Manipur is a very emotional issue for the people of Manipur, because our forefathers, they have fought several wars against the Burmese to safeguard this very idea of Manipur. We fought against the Britishers despite knowing the fact that we will be defeated in 1891 Anglo-Manipuri War. Manipur was also one of the most important battlefields, along with the Battle of Kohima during the Second World War, when the Japanese invaders, took control of some parts of the states, and the Allied forces had to fight off them. So Manipur had gone through, all kinds of vicissitudes of history, ups and downs, sufferings, depopulation, and loss of lives, loss of our cultural relics and our resources over the centuries. But we have managed to survive because of our resilience and our spirit of fighting and resisting the foreign invaders, to keep this culture, a unique culture, which has enriched the diversity of India, with Manipuri dance and many art forms, which comes from this small border state of Manipur. And you are also aware of the fact that this small state lying on the Indo-Myanmar border has been termed as the powerhouse of Indian sports, because of the well-known Olympians and sports persons coming from this state, and bringing laurels to the country. And despite all these positive notes and the setbacks and sufferings on the historical trajectory, now we have come to a crossroads on the question of the survival of Manipur as a united family, because of the conflict that has been going on since May 3rd, 2023. So, first of all, I would like to highlight the 5 points that was submitted to the concerned authorities on the 12th of March 2025, under the subject urgent appeal for steps towards inclusive peace and stability in Manipur. The first point submitted is about ensuring free movement of people and goods. And there is something called the National Highway Act, and the responsibility lies in the hands of the central authority to ensure that there is no disturbance, there is no roadblocks to the flow of goods and people on the national highways. Though the situation in Manipur is very delicate, I think in one sense the government officials have managed to justify the position, saying that in this delicate situation we are not using excessive force, coercive force of the state to do the needful. So the focus has been given on holding intercommunity dialogue, and I think it was a very informed and very right way of handling the situation in Manipur. But so far, this opening of the highways is not there, so people are still demanding for it, because this is not just about the use of the highways for our daily life, commuting across the state or beyond, and for conducting in business and commerce. This very issue questions questions the idea of Manipur, the existence of Manipur as a single unified entity, when a particular community living in the valley areas cannot move to the hill areas, and a particular community living in the hill areas cannot come down to the valley areas. So this is a very unfortunate situation. And the second point which was submitted to the official is about the return, rehabilitation, and reintegration of internally displaced persons, in short IDPs. There are more than 60,000, nearly 60,000 IDPs across the state in the aftermath of the conflict, and irrespective of their communities and ethnic affiliations, these IDPs they long to go back to the original homes or the village where they were living their life, and people are complaining about the inaction on the part of the government of India to do the needful to ensure their return and resettlement to their earlier places of residence. But during our interaction with the officials of the Ministry of Home Affairs, it has been clearly stated that this kind of things will be taking some time, as the use of coercive measures to do that kind of action is detrimental to the communities involved here. So, as I said earlier, the focus has been on holding inter-community dialogue to bring understanding, and then making the way for bringing normalcy and peace to the state. So this is one crucial issue that we are dealing with right now in Manipur, the question of the IDPs. The third point is on the prevention of further armed attacks against civilians. As I mentioned about the successful de-escalation, after December 2024, there has not been major attempts or attacks launched from the hill areas by the Kukizo armed groups targeting the civilian populations in the foothills or in the peripheral villages where the Meitei communities are living. So armed attacks as of now is not happening there, and this is one positive note that we can take away. However, I want to emphasize the point that despite the de-escalation, there is terror tactics and deniability, acts of deniability, and gray zone warfare kind of tactics being used. Especially, I would like to mention the cases of disappearances of people. In the latest cases being the disappearance of Laisam Baburam. Kamal Babu, Laisam Kamal Babu, from Lemakong Army Camp, and the disappearance of Luang Them Mukesh. So these are recent reports of disappearance of Meitei, people, and there is no, reports about them so far. So we take these cases of disappearance as an exploitation by the Kuki armed groups, of the legal lacuna, without without any reports of the whereabouts of these people, there is no legal, action to be taken, and there is the deniability factor playing here. So the culprits are, going scot-free, and there is no justice delivered so far. As per the reports, there are 33 cases of Meitei civilians, missing since the start of this conflict. Now, the fourth point is on the conducting of a comprehensive demographic study. So people generally talk about the National Register of Citizenship, holding NRC, to detect and deport illegal immigrants coming from across the border, especially from Myanmar. So this has been put as one of the important points to the government office, the concerned authorities. And the fifth and the last point of the memorandum submitted to the government of India is about ensuring unconditional and inclusive dialogue process. And so far, I would like to send out this message that after the first inter-community dialogue, yesterday we had another round of interaction with the Ministry of Home Affairs, led by Sri A.K. Misra, advisor Northeast to the Ministry of Home Affairs, and Sri Rajesh Kamble, Director IB, Ministry of Home Affairs, Joint Director. So we had a very fruitful and constructive discussion on a range of issues. And it has been clearly stated from the side of the Ministry of Home Affairs that the issues of opening the national highways, the issues of the resettlement of the internally displaced persons, these are going to take some time, and these are not achievable within a short span of few months or few weeks. So that is understandable on our part. That has been well noted. And from our side, we have requested the government of India to do the needful to take care of the IDPs in terms of taking care of their livelihood issues, financial needs, medical needs, and also, and most importantly, the educational needs of the children who are taking shelter in these various relief camps across the states. So there was the message given to us from the government of India, and we look forward to have more rounds of talks. Especially, we would welcome holding of the inter-community dialogue in the presence of the Kuki-Zo communities, because as I have stated earlier, this kind of dialogue with the Kuki-Zo community will play a very important role in bringing normalcy and peace to the state. And we are, handing over the responsibility to the government of India to ensure that the civil society organizations belonging to the Kuki-Zo communities, take into consideration the seriousness of the matter on the ground, and the high cost to be incurred by all the communities living in Manipur. So the violence in Manipur has been projected as an ethnic conflict between the Kuki-Zo communities and the Meitei communities. But in this situation, all the communities living in Manipur, including the Nagas, including the Meitei Pangals or the Manipuri Muslims, they are also suffering because of the tense situation. And yesterday, during our interaction with the concerned authorities of the Ministry of Home Affairs, we have put across the point that if we are seriously looking forward to bring normalcy back to Manipur, there is the need to change the moral framing of the conflict that is happening in Manipur. And I'm saying this with a very note that in the initial phase of the crisis, since 3rd May 2023 till 22nd of April 2023, the nature of the violence was the kind of a civil unrest, riots and arsons, and people from one particular community attacking the members of another particular community all across the states, especially these cases of violence was wrongfully projected as a incredible brutality inflicted by the majority Meitei community against the Kuki-Zo people, especially in the valley areas of Manipur. And this is very unfortunate, and it is baseless. However, we must note the fact that the first fire of violence was lit by the Kuki-Zo community people in Churachampur district, and it went out of control. And I would like to highlight the fact that there was a failure on the part of the concerned authorities, both the government of India and the state government of Manipur, in dosing the fire of this unrest. It could have been contained within a short period of time with their timely action. And that is a reading that we have met on the basis of the facts from the ground. Now, I'm talking about the moral framing, and there's a need to look at the crisis in Manipur from a different moral frame right now. So from that point of considering this violence in Manipur as an incredible brutality inflicted by the majority Meiteis to the Kukizo people. Now, from 22nd of April 2023 onwards, there was a change in the nature of the violence, because the Kukizo people started acquiring sophisticated weapons. They started militarizing themselves to draw lines on the ground, and that is how the concept of the so-called buffer zones emerged. So they started drawing lines on the ground, claiming their possession of certain parts of the territory basically in the hill areas, and in the name of Zelengam, or under any other name. So bunkers were set up, armed volunteers were posted on at various strategic locations across the state, and that took a kind of a conventional and a semi-conventional nature of violence conducted. So we have to take note of this fact that it was not just the Meitei majority community killing or conducting violent activities and targeting these Kukizo people. There was escalation of the violence since September of 2023, and there was reports of the use of drone bombing. Especially on the 1st September, there was a case of drones being used to bomb and target civilian populations in the peripheral areas in the Imphal East district of Manipur, at Koktruk and Kadangban areas. Earlier, these reports were, claimed as baseless by the, former Director General of Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General retired P.C. Nair, and also by the, Chief of the Indian Army, General Upendra Dwivedi. So later on, the case of drone bombing was confirmed after an investigation, a thorough investigation by the National Investigation Agency (NIA), and that is the fact established, right now. So that escalation, shows that they are fully armed to the teeth to do the needful, and there is the use of a conventional, semi-conventional kind of tactics to establish their control over certain parts of the state as their territory or ancestral domain. And this is a fact that we cannot negate. And not only the drone bombing, there was also use of rockets with a range of about 8 to 10 kilometers. And there was one such incident in which a 70-year-old elder person was killed in Moirang, a famous town in Manipur, in southern Manipur, near the Loktak Lake. This person was killed when this rocket fell at the home of the former Chief Minister of Manipur, Moirang Koire. So use of these sophisticated weapon systems marked the escalation of the violence, and that came from the Kukizo community. But here in mainstream media, the narratives has been that the Meitei communities has been the perpetrators. We are the perpetrators committing crimes against the Kukizo people, and this narrative is very unfortunate. And as I mentioned earlier about the disappearances of people as an exploitation of the legal lacuna and use of many terror tactics, and this gray zone type of warfare where there is a blurring of the line between the peace and conflict. So the situation right now in Manipur is that of a stalemate between these two sides, two parties. And there's the buffer zone, the so-called buffer zone, dividing the soil of Manipur into two parts. And this is very unfortunate. And there were, cases of targeting civilian infrastructures, such as the case of, bombing the Kwakta Bridge in Bishnupur district of Manipur. On the 21st of June 2023, there was another case of bombing of the bridge on the National Highway 37 near Kangpopi. There was a case of bombing targeting the power transmission line at Cortland village. There was a case of fuel contamination in the name of leakage, but that was not an accident. There was a deliberate, leakage of these arms from the, this power plant into the streams, Lemakong streams. And there were other cases of targeting the fuel convoys, LPG convoys, and not only the bombing of the bridges, not only the transmission of, the attacking of the transmission lines. And this situation, which is marked by the blurring of the line between the normal state, the peaceful state, and the conflict situation, is what we are enjoying. So despite the de-escalation, the realities on the ground is very delicate. And when we are living under this situation, the unfortunate provocation that happened at Gualtabi is bringing the state back to the news. And the state is burning now, and people are suffering. So I have tried to explain the need for sensing our moral frame. I have given you the rationale for reframing, and also there is the need for conceptual reframing. Why? Because when we are living in that delicate situation, we have got many irresponsible statements from some of our well-known seasoned politicians, including our Union Home Minister, Ms. Hazi. The narratives has been shifting, like shifting sand dunes. Earlier, it was because of the Manipur High Court's order regarding the inclusion of the Meiteis into the ST list that triggered the violence. Next, it was about the presence of external forces and the illegal armed groups from across the Indo-Myanmar border that has led to the violence. And in the recent past, respected ministers, Sri Amit Shahji, Jyotiraditya Scindia, including Kiran Rijiju from Northeast India, they have started saying that this is part of their tradition. This is the tradition of the people of Manipur, the communities living in Manipur. It is the way of life. So they are making such statements which are sending, the message of normalizing the violence. And we read this as a kind of, getting away from the responsibility. Rather than taking accountability of the conflict and the sufferings of the people, the sufferings of the IDPs, and the financial problems that we are facing, as we cannot use the road transport to go to other parts of the country, these narratives are not doing anything good in the state. So I have this humble request to the government of India and to our political leaders that such insensitive statements should be avoided at all costs to avoid provocation and playing with the minds and hearts of the people of Manipur. Now coming to the operational reframing. On the eve of the Christmas in December 2024, there was an incident in which nearly 100 well-armed Kukizo militants came down to Imphal East at Sanasabi area. And they started, attacking the peripheral villages. And in response, A combined team led by the Border Security Force, Indian Army, CRPF, and Manipur State Police conducted operation, and they were contained successfully. So the reading that we have made from that incident is that India, being one of the most powerful military power in the world, with so many armed forces and agencies working for the security of the country, has the capacity to do the needful on the ground. But
in our Manipur it is violence and violence.
yeah, so the thing is that the government of India is playing with the intent of those armed Kukizo people, armed volunteers, armed terrorists, but not working on degrading the capacity to inflict casualties and losses of lives and properties to the people living in the valleys. Why this game plan of playing only with the intent of these people but not targeting their capacity to conduct violence? And why managing the conflict rather than resolving the conflict? So this stance of the government of India has been interpreted by the people of Manipur in various ways, positive, negative. And this has eroded the credibility of the government of India, leading to building of, greater trust deficit between the government of India and the people of Manipur, especially with those living in the valley areas. The eroding of the credibility of the government of India is simultaneously going along with the alienation of the people of Manipur from the idea of India. And being a border state, with the situation in Myanmar since February 2021, when the military coup happened, it is still going on without more end in sight. With China sitting in Myanmar with its Belt and Road Initiative going all the way down to Bay of Bengal, and with the enactment of a law under which Chinese government can deploy armed security forces to protect and safeguard their assets, their Chinese invested projects and their personnel and staffs there, China has got a foothold in Myanmar, in Bay of Bengal, and they are sitting down there comfortably. So for national security and also for the geopolitical interests of India, especially in the context of Aegis policy, what is happening in Manipur, the volatile situation, the grey zone warfare kind of a situation, which is a stalemate without, restoring normalcy and peace. This is not doing any good to the cause of the country as well. Yes, we are suffering. Being a, citizen from Manipur, we are suffering. We are collectively suffering. Whether you are a Meitei or a Kukizo or a Meitei Pangal or any non-Manipuri, residents who are doing business in Imphal and other towns, we are all suffering. But the cause to be incurred by the government of India because of this situation, when we prolong this situation further, it is unimaginable. I'm talking about the long-term implications of the situation that is prevailing right now in Manipur. Last but not the least, I would like to talk about the framing of denial, the mode of communication that the government of India has sent out to the Kukizo people who have this political aspiration of demanding for separate administration or union territory by carving out the small state called Manipur. By carving out territory from this small state, they are demanding for union territory or any other administrative arrangement. Now, my request is that Manipur has a unique history. It has been there as a geopolitical entity for centuries. If we go through the pages of history of Southeast Asia, where Manipur used to be a very important player, along with Siam Kingdom of Thailand and the Burmese Empire, the Chinese Qing Dynasty, Laos, etc., etc. These are all well recorded historical facts on the pages of history, that Manipur has been existing as a geopolitical entity for centuries. And any attempt to dismember Manipur to please a certain section of the community who are talking about establishing exclusively, ethnically exclusive territorial units by dismembering Manipur, this is not going to be received well by the people of Manipur, especially the Meiteis. Not only that, there is enough room for suspicion when the government of India is not conveying a strong message to the Kokizo community, or for that matter, any other community with a separatist aspiration to dismember Manipur, by telling them the fact that Manipur has an identity of its own. Under the first schedule of the Indian Constitution, entry number 19, Manipur joined the Indian Dominion before the Constitution was adopted, and it was treated as a chief commissioner's province. So the very fact of the pre-existing nature of Manipur as a state which was there before the Dominion of India came into existence underlies the fact that there is the historicity of Manipur, the unique identity of Manipur, which is indivisible. And by giving room with weak messages saying that there is administrative complexities because of the demographic patterns, overlapping demographic patterns with Nagas, Kukis, Meiteis all living together in every part of the state, I think the government of India is not doing a good service to these separatist elements. We request and we hope that the government of India will be little more down to earth, will be more stricter in terms of communicating to these separatist elements that Manipur, being a small state with a long history of its existence, with a unique culture, of composite culture, built up over the centuries by our forefathers, there is no room for it. This message can do a lot in terms of reassuring the Meiteis peoples who have been in the streets for years. Here I would like to recall the incident of June 18 in 2001. So I would like to conclude my briefing with a note that we are here to convey our messages, our grievances, which are genuine, and we have successfully done it yesterday while meeting with the concerned authorities of the Ministry of Home Affairs. And we hope that there will be some concrete actions, positive actions, and constructive measures from the government of India to bring normalcy and peace to Manipur at the earliest. And now I would like to open the floor for questions, comments.